Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be in this session. This is the co-op info session in the fall semester. My name is Kia Bazargan. I'm with the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department, and I joined the university in 2000. And very recently, I took the role of the director of the co-op under the College of Science and Engineering. And today we're going to do this presentation with my colleagues, Angela Froisted and Miranda Miller. If you could take a minute and introduce yourselves, and then we'll continue. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Angie Froisted, and I'm the director of the College of Science and Engineering Career Center. So the co-op program is now kind of under our umbrella, which is great. We'll be going over some co-op search strategies and some career fair and recruiting information today. So thank you all for joining us. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you at some point.
Hi, I'm Miranda Miller. I'm the undergraduate program manager in mechanical engineering, where the co-op began many, many years ago. And so it was housed in ME, and now it has grown, and we have about 7 other departments who participate in the co-op program. And so now we're making this change and moving it over to the Career Center and leveraging a lot of their resources that they have. We may have students on this call who have participated in the co-op previously, or maybe have friends that have participated previously. So you'll get to hear about some of the exciting changes with the program.
All right, thank you so much. So basically what we're going to cover today is going to be, what the philosophy of the program is, and, what are covered in the courses, what are the pros and cons of, doing co-op, and then the logistics of it, how to get in, and, what are the requirements and stuff like that. So we'll first talk about, the program background. And then we'll talk about the differences between co-op and internship, and then benefits of it, and the course contents, eligibility, how to get in, and most importantly, locating a co-op, and that's where Angie would basically take over, and that's basically the essence of the co-op. And we'll talk about career fair, applying to the program, and some of the resources at the end. So believe it or not, the program has been up since 1950. Yay! And the engineering co-op program has been a joint effort between the university and the engineering firms. Very strong participation by engineering firms in the Twin Cities area, and we are trying to actually expand it so that it's nationwide. And it's been so popular that the demand from the companies has been more than students available, that we would fill it. And we keep receiving these emails from companies that say, hey, I have a position, can you post something? So in that sense, it's good for you, right? You have a lot of positions available. That gives you a lot of choice. And majors who participate in the program are mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, industrial and systems, material science, chemical, biomedical, and aerospace. And again, our goal is to expand it. And if someone is in, let's say, physics department and they want to co-op, so we would love to make that also possible. But these programs have their own expectations and rules, and we'll get to that in a minute. So the big question that I get a lot, and by the way, I myself was involved with advising a couple of years ago in the electrical and computer engineering department, and I did upper level advising. So a question that I kept getting was, should I do internship? Should I do co-op? And basically, if you think about internship is a very limited. Usually, over the summer, you do 10 to 12 weeks of summer semester, and you basically just go there, do work, and you're done, right? I mean, it's an isolated instance of doing working. You get some money, but you don't earn any credits. Co-op, on the other hand, is supposed to be more than that. It's supposed to be, first off, a 2-semester work with the same company. And that's what companies like. And that's actually what I suggest to students too, because if you do just one internship with the company, half of that time you're just learning the environment, you're learning the background and so on. And by the time it's done, you say, okay, that's it. Right. But with co-op, you get to go deeper, you get to learn things more. And within a 2-semester period, you get a whole lot more one-on-one with your managers. And the other thing that, doesn't happen with internships is that with the co-op, you usually do one of it in summer, and then the other one is going to be either, fall or spring. And in the fall or in the spring semester, companies don't have many internships. They don't have many interns to deal with, so it's not that crowded. Your manager is going to have more time to spend with you. The colleagues can spend more time with you. So it's going to be much more in-depth, and it's much closer to a real, job after graduation. So it gives you a real sense of how it feels to be working at that company. And also, companies like it in another sense too, and that is they can evaluate you much better. So in that sense, if you do a really good job at the co-op, that almost guarantees that you will have a job with that company. So these are really, great benefits compared to what you would be able to achieve during an internship. And of course, you can also earn technical credits. The advantages, as I said, more in-depth experience. You get more the training, you get more responsibility. The disadvantage is that it might add one more semester. If you ask me, I would discount that. I mean, what is the purpose of education? I mean, you want to finish in 4 years to join a company. Well, you're breaking that part of it, and you're getting some exposure. And the other thing is, I mean, if you work with a company in depth, then at the end of it, you don't have questions of, how was it like working in this company, right? I mean, if you, for example, do internship, after 3 months, you would say, but if I had been established, I wonder how I would have felt about working at that company. No questions like that, during co-op, that. And if you don't like that company, then you can make a decision right there. And after graduation, you would join a different company. So again, it would cut your losses and, would be better. The other disadvantage that it would have is that you get to do the experience with just one company, but I'll get to that when we talk about the courses. It doesn't necessarily have to be viewed as just experience with one company. And then you can earn 2 4 technical elective credits in the span of 2 semesters, but this is important. You must check with your department to see what the rules are. I mean, things are in flux. We are in a new format for this co-op. It's a new program, and we are trying to make it uniform across the college so that the rules apply to everybody the same. But in this, transition period, just make sure that you check with your department to see what exact requirements they want, and how many of these they count. Wages would be, average pay $20 per hour, but the range is 16 to 24 hours. Depend on the company, depends on the field you're in, and could be, could change depending on the student qualifications and the company itself too. And you maintain full-time student status, so you get all your benefits. You get to use Boynton and health insurance and the gym and so on. So you could do those things. It's going to be valuable experience both technically and in terms of non-technical stuff, and I'll get to the non-technical skills soon. And because it's a longer experience, you get to own your own project, by the end of the internship. And again, that's much more realistic in terms of what you should expect from your job later on. And basically what you could do is, you have time, you can basically look at different things that are being done at that company and basically find your specifics and specific interest and field of study. The other benefits, or if you remember on the previous slides, I said that one of the disadvantages is that you're doing work with only one company over the 2 semesters, but you can look at it from another perspective. We have an accompanying course with this co-op experience. And in that course, the way that we are trying to organize it is, we get some part of the lecture, you get some reading material, and that would be similar to a regular lecture. But we also have discussion sections. And in those discussion sections, what we try to do is we try to break you up into smaller groups and then pick a topic and say, tell us how diversity is handled in your company, right? And then you hear from your classmates, your peers that have different experiences. So if you're in a large company or if you're in a small company, you get to hear other people's experience. And that gives you more, outside class education. So in that sense, I personally like that much better than doing an internship. And of course, you gain valuable networking skills. And within the company, you get to meet different people and you can take the initiative. Building these relationships, it's good for your resume. It's also good if you want to later, look for opportunities, more people that you can connect to. And one of the things that we are going to work on during the lecture part of the course is, things like LinkedIn and, give you techniques that, how you could expand your network even beyond the company that you're working at. So in short, you with the co-op, you earn money, credit, and experience all at the same time. And hopefully it's going to be a very fun and rich experience. That's basically our goal. And there are 2 courses associated with the co-op experience. So I divide them into first and second. I call them the first course and the second course, but in reality, you could take them in any order you want. So the first semester that on a regular basis, we're going to have it in the spring. We are doing an off semester offering of it this semester, but from now on, it's going to be offered in the spring. So that's CSE 40. Oh, actually, I think 4896 is going to be offered in the spring. And basically that course, yes, Jacob, you had a question? If you have a question, feel free to unmute and jump in. So in the first course, what we're going to work on would be soft skills, and soft skills means things like teamwork. What if there's conflict at the company? What if your boss is giving you too much work? You can't say no to your boss, right? So how do you dance around that issue? And we'll discuss these issues. There are some tips that we could give you, and you could learn from your classmates in the discussion sections that we have. We'll emphasize on communication skills, business writing. One of the feedbacks that I've heard from companies is your students write too long of reports, right? If you're supposed to do an executive summary, the expectation is that has to be a page or less, right? And some of our graduates, they submit executive summaries that are 2-3 pages. So we'll work together. You'll do a lot of practice on doing that. But also, that doesn't have to be executive summary. It could be a report internally that you're doing, or if you want to provide some info to the sales and marketing teams, how would you change the language? Or even simple things as emails, right? How do you write effective emails that gets a higher chance of being seen and read by people? So these are the kinds of things that we will practice together. And finally, presentation skills. So these are things that are again important. One of the other feedbacks that I get from companies is that your students could do a better job in terms of presentation skills. So we'll work on that. The second working semester is going
Hey, Kia, before you
Yes.
go on, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
The question came in through chat. So when you say off semester, do you mean that the course won't be offered? And so we can't do a co-op in the spring? Do you want to take that, or would you like me to?
Sure. Go ahead. If you want to answer, go ahead.
Yeah, so as we're working through this transition of retiring the old co-op courses and working in these 2 new 2-credit courses, we have a bit of overlap, and when we're laying it all out, some of them will be offered right away and some won't. So this fall, we rolled out CSE 4896 that will again be offered in the spring. And then starting in summer, both CSE 4896 and CSE 4996 will be offered. And that should be the last semester that any of the old co-op courses are offered as well. So we have a bit of a transition plan, but absolutely you can start a co-op in the spring and do spring and summer, or maybe you start in the summer and do summer fall.
Thank you, Miranda. Yeah, and basically these are, even though they're called courses 1 and 2, they are independent in terms of content, right? So you could, in the summer, both of them are offered. In the spring and fall, only one of them is offered. So you could do either a spring, summer, or you could do summer, fall, right? Under exceptional circumstances, someone could do summer, summer, for example, but you can't do fall, fall because the same course is being offered. But if you do summer, summer, since both courses are offered, you could take one at the first summer and then the other one and the next summer. But basically, we'll work with you. I mean, our goal is to be flexible, and if you have some weird situations, reach out to us. I mean, we might be able to find a solution, and but that's the plan. That's what we have. Now, on the second course, the emphasis is going to be on, the patent process. What if you have an idea, once you're done with your co-op, let's say you have an idea based on the experience that you gained there, and now you thought about it and, you develop some ideas. How do you patent it? So we'll show you resources at the university to show you what the patent process is and how you can file for a patent. And if you're interested in doing a startup, what courses you can take, what services we have at the university. We'll also walk through the patent process at the companies. So how does it work in a company, which would be different from how a university operates, for example. And then again, we will ask you to do interviews with your boss at the company or find other colleagues and ask them to walk you through the process. And then in the discussion, we could say, okay, in a small company, this is what we did. This is the bar that we have to pass to patent for an idea. And in a large company like 3M and Medtronic, maybe the bar is lower because they have more resources and they can patent more ideas. So we'll talk about patents. The other part of it, we're going to focus on the business model canvas, and that's a well-known model that basically walks you through the anatomy of a business. And that's important for you to know. I mean, even if you would be a junior, colleague when you join a company, you would be at a cutting edge, and would be at an advantage if you know that, yes, there are sales channels, there are, these different, components at a company that need to work together. And we'll practice, looking at these topics and so on. By the way, the textbooks for these are also going to be online resources. So there are online videos that you can watch, and then you could read the stuff, and we'll learn that stuff and then come back and discuss them in class. So hopefully it's going to be very fun and enriching experience for all of you. Now, in terms of eligibility, you must be one of the undergrad majors listed here, but in future, we want to expand on it. So if you're not one of the students in these majors, talk to us. Maybe we can talk to your director of undergraduate studies and do something so that you could participate in the program. But you must be admitted
in aerospace as well.
Sorry. Oh, and aerospace. Okay.
In aerospace as well.
Yep. Thank you. That was missing. So you must be admitted into your major within 1 semester of the major acceptance. Then you can start doing the co-op, and the transfer students can also apply, and then we'll again work with you to see if you're meeting the requirements and so on. In terms of the position requirements, you must work for 2 semesters. So that's the condition. If you get an offer from a company, that the company has to commit for 2 semesters of work. And in the old system, we had the 3rd semester, which would also earn you credit. Not many students were taking it, so we are taking that out. So of course, if you want to work for a 3rd semester at a company, you could take a leave, but you won't get credit for it. So you can only get 2 credits over these, the span of the first 2 semesters. And ideally, the 2 semesters that you work are supposed to be consecutive, because that gives you the best, experience. But again, exceptions, we could work with you. And then you must work under the supervision of a qualified engineer who can provide effective professional and technical guidance. And we don't want a situation in which they assign you something and then the supervisor, the manager is gone and you can't get a hold of them. And if you have questions, you're left in the dark. So what we do is when companies want to post co-op positions, we'll tell them, only do it if you have a dedicated person who can meet with the student. And you would have weekly meetings, or if there are certain situations that weekly is not possible, once every 2 weeks at least. You must work full time, so 40 hours per week, and the position has to be related to your major. And in fact, in one of the questionnaires, we will say, how does it relate to your major? So it has to be related, and you must be paid a competitive wage. All right, with that, I hand it over to Angie. Please take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. So I'm going to talk a little bit about locating a co-op and then applying to the program. So just like other positions like internships, locating a co-op is the responsibility of the student, but just know that we are here to help you. So that is really one nice thing, as Miranda mentioned, with the co-op program now being under the umbrella of the Career Center, is that we're really equipped to help students locate co-op opportunities. We have a lot of connections with employers, and we can offer a lot of resources too. So if you're not familiar with the Career Center, definitely would encourage you to check it out. Our website has a lot of really nice resources, job, search strategies, networking advice, resume examples, cover letters, interviewing. So lots of really good guides and resources on the web. We're also available to meet with you either in person, virtually, via phone, really however you want to do that. Our career counselors offer 30-minute appointments every day. And then our counselors and our peer assistants offer drop-ins. So that drop-in is a really great opportunity to do maybe a quick resume review, or if you have a quick question about a position that you found online, definitely be sure that you're connecting with our office so that we can help you locate the co-op that really meets your needs and that is interesting to you. All right, next slide. Here we go. Yeah, so we encourage you to use Handshake to find employers that are hiring co-op students. So hopefully you're all familiar with Handshake. If not, we would definitely encourage you to get in there. Every U of M student has a Handshake account. You just need to go in there and build your profile. It's just your X500, username and password. Their profile will be in there and you just need to build it. So it's pretty straightforward. There's just a jobs tab in there, and then you can use the co-op search filter to find companies that are interested and have positions open for co-ops. So be sure to fully complete the Handshake profile. At the very minimum, you'll want to have your college, your major, your year in school. Many positions are based off of kind of that self-reported data. So do be sure, if you haven't already, as kind of fall recruiting is ramping up here, be sure that you have completed those kind of key parts of that profile. And then also be sure to upload a resume into your profile as well. One word of advice on that is this time of year, we are pretty busy in our office. There's a lot of resumes coming into the system, and we actually do need to approve all of those. It's just a standard. We just kind of, click approve and it goes through, but just be sure, if you are looking at positions that have deadlines that are coming up fairly quickly, we do try to approve those within the same day, even a couple hours this time of year, but just be aware, nights and weekends, we're not generally online. So just kind of factor that in. Once you have an updated copy of your resume, just put that in the system so that it'll be there and available to approve or to apply for jobs, and you won't be waiting on any kind of approval. We also encourage you to allow employers to view your profile. So there's a couple different settings in there that you can select. And if you're comfortable with having that profile searchable to employers, we know that employers oftentimes are going in, doing searches for candidates that might meet their requirements. So that is just one consideration in the Handshake system to kind of just allow employers to search for that profile. You do want to note that all the jobs do have different requirements. So when employers are posting their co-op positions, they are posting them based on kind of what their needs are and what they want in their candidate. So we really don't have, anything to do with that process. Some employers might have a minimum GPA, for example. They may have one particular major that they really want, or maybe they want a sophomore or a junior. Those are requirements that the company would set, and we really don't have much control over that. I will say that most employers are fairly open. It's pretty rare that an employer would only want just one type of major or a super high GPA. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. They might even have preferences, but they will still allow any student to apply. So I would say, even if you don't meet maybe their preferences, if they haven't set it as a requirement, go ahead and apply to those positions. It's really important for them to cast really a wide net there. Companies will contact you directly to invite you to interview. So it's really up to them once you apply, either via handshake or via their website, however they have indicated, they will invite you to interview. We know a lot of companies are doing virtual interviews now. Some may have in-person interviews, some may invite you to their company to interview, but they will arrange that outside of the co-op program. So that's not happening through our office, but again, we are there to offer support with interviewing, mock interviews, interviewing strategy, that sort of thing. So interviews are taking place really throughout the year as students are completing co-ops, as we mentioned, in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. So it's really kind of rolling, but I will say that the highest volume is in the early fall semester and the early spring semester. So right now, for those of you joining us that are interested in starting a co-op in the spring, many companies are posting positions now. So I think it's great. Obviously, you're joining us for this info session. You have some level of interest or curiosity about it, but now's the time to participate. That's when we're really going to see end of September, October, part of November, December, things are going to be quieter as companies are sort of transitioning to the spring recruiting. So while we accept applications really, almost right up until the start of the semester, we really would encourage you to apply to as many positions right now in the fall as possible, as you'll tend to be more successful following that timeline. So one really great way to meet companies and to learn about opportunities is by attending the career fair. So some of you may have attended fairs in the past. We were virtual last year and we're virtual again this year. The fair will be held next week, next Tuesday and Wednesday via Handshake. So if you did attend last year via Career Fair Plus, it is a different platform, but it's all in Handshake. So it's really intuitive. It's a really great platform. We have, I think last time I checked, about 210 companies registered. So lots of opportunities there. Many companies, as I was going through the list of companies, many of them do have co-op positions available, and they want to talk to students about students that are interested in participating in a co-op. So I want to talk a little bit more specifically about how to kind of find the fair. So on the next slide, you can see, well, first, benefits. I'm jumping ahead. Let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits of attending the career fair. Obviously, meeting employers who have open positions, right? That's first and foremost. They want to meet with you. They're going to be conducting interviews. This is a great way to gather information, to ask questions of them, talk to them, ask them, what kinds of tasks would I have? What projects would I be working on? Tell me about the team I would be on, right? Those are really great ways. This fair is a really good opportunity to talk to companies about the company themselves and about any positions they might have available. Also, making a good first impression. We know employers receive a lot of applications to their positions, so for them to be able to meet you virtually is a really, a nice way to make you stand out and might really give you an advantage when it comes to kind of following up and moving on to that next step, which would be an invitation to interview. And of course, building your network. I'm sure you've all heard about the value of networking, and that starting with the career fair. It really starts as early as college, and meeting recruiters, meeting engineers, building that contact list, and really getting to know what sort of opportunities are out there, and who can kind of help you in your journey of meeting your career goals. So those are just some of the benefits. I will say, if you aren't able to attend the career fair, you have a conflict. I mean, of course, we want you to go, but if you don't, it doesn't mean you can't participate in the co-op program. It doesn't mean you can't apply for jobs. So no student walks away from a fair having a job offer. That doesn't happen. Lots of benefits, but obviously every student has to go through the process of applying for those positions. So just kind of a side note on that. So here, getting into kind of some of the logistics of the fair, sign up is open now for time slots to talk to employers. So if you haven't had the chance to go in there and check it out, we would encourage you to do that sooner rather than later. Just go to the events tab and search for College of Science and Engineering. Those events will pop up. Day 1 and day 2 are actually separate events. It's a little strange in the system, but that's just the way Handshake is set up. You will want to view each day, because new employers, different employers, are attending each day. So be sure to click on day 1 and day 2 and look at each of the respective events for the companies that are attending both of those days. And then here's just a screenshot of kind of what you will see once you click into the fair. You are able to search using the filter of cooperative education. So that is a great way to kind of filter down those, say 100 companies attending each day, to see those companies that do want to talk to students interested in completing a co-op. So you just click on that filter tab there, click on co-op, and then that's going to generate a list of companies. I will say some companies, because of the way that they have set up their requirements or their preferences, you may not be eligible for every position or eligible to have a spot to speak with an employer. So just as I previously mentioned, some employers do have those requirements set where they do want to speak to maybe one particular major or one particular year in school. So if that's the case, you may not see those time slots, you may not be able to sign up, and you'll just want to continue searching and finding those companies where you're able to speak with them.
Angie, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
So we had one question come in along the topics of co-op filters and Handshake.
Yeah.
How do we unlock the co-op filter on Handshake? And do we have to be marked as part of the program on Handshake?
Very good question. Yeah, there should not be any need to unlock anything. The old program was set up a little bit differently in the system, so it may be that this particular student was kind of under that part of Handshake, but we are just using the regular job search tab. So navigate to the job tab and then filter by co-op, and all companies that are hiring co-op students will populate. So there should not be anything that's locked. If there is, definitely send us an email and we'll take a look at your profile and make sure that everything is set up. But you are essentially just looking for any co-op. The old system, if you were, reviewing this information last year, was that they had to participate, kind of formally join our program, and we've really opened it up now. We want to make sure there's more opportunities for companies, and first and foremost, more opportunities, most importantly, for our students. So hopefully that's not an issue, but if you do run into that, follow up with our office and we'll take a look at Handshake. Thanks for that question. Yeah, so here's just kind of a snapshot of what you would see when you do navigate to each company. There's a little bit of a description there. It will show you what sort of job types they are interested in or looking to fill, job titles, school years. For any international students that are joining us today, if they offer OPT and CPT, so specifically CPT would be something that you would want to look for, which is a type of work authorization that you'll need for the co-op. So just a nice way to kind of explore some of those companies. We would encourage you to research ahead of time, before you meet with them, learn a little bit about what they do, what products they might make, if they've been in the news, recent innovations, developments, that sort of thing. So this is a really nice way to kind of get a handle on what that company does. So scheduling those one-on-one meetings, they're only 10 minutes, so it's pretty quick, but it's, hopefully long enough to have a conversation around, again, what the company does, how you feel like you would be a good fit, your basic qualifications, your experiences, why you're interested in that particular company. So you're going to see there on the right a little window that will pop up, and you'll be able to select the time that you do want to meet with those recruiters. I will say that if you go in and you find that maybe your number one company is full, or you don't meet the requirements that they have set, continue checking back. Within 24 hours of the career fair, employers actually get a message encouraging them to lift their restrictions. So maybe they have an ideal candidate, but maybe that candidate doesn't exist to them. So they will lift those potentially and open it up for more students to kind of cast a little bit of a wider net. That, along with other students, might be canceling, might be changing appointments. So don't be discouraged if you get in there, over the next couple of days and you're not able to find what you want. Do for sure check Handshake again later this week, definitely on Monday, even Tuesday morning, to see if there's any openings. So once you've found a co-op, you've applied, you've interviewed, you've been accepted, congratulations at that point. Really, then the last step is to apply to the program. And that's really a pretty straightforward process. That happens in Handshake as well via the Experiences tab. So if you go to our website under Prospective Students, you'll find step-by-step instructions on how to fill out the application. But it's pretty basic. We've highlighted there just that Experiences tab. You click on that. And then on the next slide, you'll just need to submit information about your co-op. So name of the company, your supervisor's information, what it is you'll be doing. So have a copy of the position description, kind of some of those major tasks and responsibilities that you'll have at your co-op. They are vetted by the Career Center and then by Professor Bazargan as well. So that is just something to kind of keep in mind, that we are taking a look at all of those. We just want to make sure that you have met all of the eligibility requirements, and then the position itself meets the requirements as was previously outlined. So your supervisor also signs off on it. So just making sure that your site supervisor is aware of their responsibilities as a manager, and that they will need to sign off that everything is accurate. But really, this whole process shouldn't take, ideally it should take a couple of days. I think we give the site supervisor up to 4 or 5 days to look at it, but we can turn things around pretty quickly. So once that application is approved, then we'll get you into the co-op courses that were just discussed. So pretty straightforward application process. Again, very different. If you have previously looked into this program, we've really streamlined it, and I think you'll find that it's a pretty straightforward process to go through. So just a few important dates to keep in mind. Again, that career fair coming up next week. We'd love to see you attend via Handshake. Applications for those students attending that are thinking about getting started with their co-op in the spring, application deadline isn't until January. So you've certainly got a lot of time. But we would say, again, going back to the recruiting cycle, if you do find a position in October, in November, go ahead and submit your application. You certainly don't need to wait. Love to just have you get it in there. We'll approve that, and then you can just kind of have that process out of the way, and we'll get you enrolled in the course. For anybody that's thinking about getting started in the summer, maybe doing a summer-fall co-op, you have until shortly before the summer semester or summer term begins, May 2nd. So really lots of time here to get that application in. Just some additional resources and some upcoming events. So again, now that the program is under the Career Center, we would love to have you participate and view some of our workshops. So the Career Fair Prep Workshop has been recorded and should be available here any day on our YouTube channel. We've got interviewing, I think, is tomorrow. So if anyone's available at 12:15 virtually via Zoom, you can go ahead and attend that. But we'll be recording these sessions as well and putting them on the YouTube channel. So if you're not able to attend them live, they're half hour. We try to kind of get you in and out and get you all the information you need in terms of that job search and or co-op search and interviewing. We have drop-in hours this week. So if you do want to have a quick resume review from 1 to 4 the rest of this week, as well as Monday. So feel free to just navigate to the Career Center homepage and then click on Attend to Drop-in, and that'll take you into the Zoom room. Two other events coming up are virtual resume marathon, where we'll actually be bringing in employers to review. I say bringing in, it's virtual, bringing them into a Zoom room to review student resumes. So that's a really great event. That's this Friday. Sign up is open until the end of the day today. I just checked with my colleague and I think we have a few spots left. So if you jump on it, you might be able to grab one of those, but that's a really nice event. Get that reviewed on Friday, have the weekend to kind of make those updates and changes and have that ready to go by the career fair. And then our practice interview days. That's very similar to resume marathon, but instead of a resume review, you get a practice interview with an employer. So that's a really, really fun event. Students I know aren't always super excited about practicing interviewing skills, but I will say that it's one of the best things you can do to really work out, some of those nerves and really get prepared before the real interviews happen. So that's happening next week, Thursday and Friday. So you'll want to sign up and handshake. I know we have plenty of spots available as of today, but for sure, just read through the co-op website. Everything you need to know is there. If there's questions, if it's, information is not there, we are there to help out. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions that you might have. And there's our information. So yeah, feel free to, again, review that website, but then the co-op at umn.edu is a really great place to start. I monitor that email address. So I try to get back to you within, same day or the next day at the very, very latest. If you do want to stop in and visit us in person, we have a temporary home. Lind Hall, as you may have noticed, is undergoing renovation. So we are in 10 Church Street. So just kind of down Church Street on the 3rd floor. So we are, while our drop-ins are virtual, we are holding in-person 30-minute appointments. So we would love to see you in person as well. So with that, I think that's really the kind of formal information that we wanted to share with you. And if there's any other questions, I don't know, Miranda, I haven't had my eye on the chat or the Q&A, but if there's questions, please let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're all caught up on the Q&A and the chat, but if you have other questions, please feel free to submit them. We're happy to answer them. And if you don't have questions, that's okay too. You know how to contact these folks.
Yeah, I don't see any more coming in. So we are recording this session. So if you have friends that are interested in the program, definitely tell them to access the session on the co-op webpage and also on the CSE YouTube channel. So feel free, tell your friends. But yes, please let us know. Thank you so much for your interest in the program and really hoping to engage with you soon.
And there's one question that came in.
Great.
It says handshake. Oh, a couple questions. Handshake is only showing day 1 of the career fair to sign up for. Where do they sign up for day 2?
It should show both. Yeah, do we have that question coming from a couple students?
Just one so far, yeah.
Yeah, it should, both days should be open for sign up. That began yesterday at 8 a.m. So make sure that they should both pop up when you search for College of Science and Engineering. They are separate events. So be sure, in day 1, those sessions should all be open and day 2 should all be as well. I know students are signing up for both of those. Let us know, send me an email tonight if for some reason that's not popping up for you. Could be some technical issue that we'd want to make sure you that we look at and get you access to that, but they should both be available at this point.
Yeah, it looks like it was for another student too. It was only showing day 1.
Oh, interesting. Well, I will be sure that all of our settings are correct there. But yeah, send me a note if you are being impacted by that. I'm not sure if I'm freezing. It looks like I'm lagging behind a little bit here. But I believe that sign up should be open for both events, but I will look at the settings right after this session.
And it would help if you could just do a screenshot and then send it to the email co-op at UMN.edu so that we could take a look at it.
That would be very helpful. Great idea.
And then one other question, Angie, related to searching in Handshake. There's Handshake, it can be a bit overwhelming and it's new for many of us. So what do they search under?
Yeah, go to navigate to co-op positions, you'll go to the jobs tab. So when you log in, it should be in the upper left-hand corner. You'll see events and then you'll see a jobs tab. So if you click on that, then you can use the filter, and it is a little, you have to kind of, I think you select all filters because not all filters show up on the kind of the top of the page. So if you select like see all filters, then you can filter by, and it's cooperative education. So co-op doesn't pop up. It's the full kind of cooperative, the formal name will pop up. And once you click on that, then all of the co-op positions should show up in order of application deadline. You can also set other filters. So if you're looking for, say, you want a position in the Twin City metro area, you can do a search on that. You can do a search for major as well. So kind of the more filters you set, probably the smaller number of search results you are going to get. But yeah, any questions again beyond that, come to a drop-in. We can always share screens or have you kind of walk you through it and make sure that you're navigating to the correct place. You can also do a keyword search of co-op too. That's another way to do it.
Thank you. We have a couple more. One related to the recruiting cycle.
Yeah.
So fall is obviously a big recruiting time for companies. And during fall, they may also be searching for their summer interns or co-op and filling those as well. So if you just want to explain a little bit more, Angie, on the recruiting cycle and when they should really do, like if they're looking for summer and fall, can they be starting to look now?
Yeah, you certainly can. Definitely. So if students are attending that, are looking beyond spring, so maybe not ready to start spring, but ready to start in the summer, do like a summer fall. Yes, I would say those employers could potentially be offering positions and posting positions now. Fall recruiting is really the highest volume that we see all year. It doesn't mean that employers aren't posting positions later in the year. I mean, jobs come in every single day. We're approving them. But right now, I would say, a couple weeks before the fair until really the end of October, those kind of couple months are really key months, especially for some of the larger companies. Many of them, that's when they do all of their postings. So I would say if you are going to be interested and want to start a co-op in the spring, summer, maybe even next fall, that's a little bit early. I would say those positions are probably going to be posted in the next recruiting cycle, which would be spring. So January, February, maybe even into the summer. But yeah, if it's spring and summer, I would say for sure participate this fall and really get those applications in. But it varies. I mean, some companies are planning way ahead. They've, got everything squared away, got their positions posted in Handshake, and others, they might not even know they have a need until a month before the co-op is going to be starting. So we see that sometimes too, right? We know that priorities change, projects change at certain companies. So we might get an email say, oh, hey, we're looking for a co-op student, and we can send blasts out and we can advertise those and say, post those to Handshake. You might get a student who's interested or kind of looking last minute. So it's really always rolling, but really, I think important for those of you, looking to start in the spring and summer, especially to be looking for those positions and applying right now.
Thank you.
That helps.
The next question I can answer, it's about being considered a full-time student while on co-op and only maybe taking a couple credits. So many of our co-op students do end up taking like one additional class usually. Maybe they'll find something in the evening that works with their work schedule at their company. You don't need to, but if you'd like to, that's usually pretty feasible to work in there as well. So the co-op courses are set up so that you are still considered a full-time student. So behind the scenes, the co-op courses are considered 13 credits, even though they're only 2, and that's what you pay for. So you'll submit a 13 credit exemption while you're on co-op so that you're only charged for the number of credits that you're taking. In terms of how that may or may not impact scholarships and any other type of financial aid, that depends, and it depends on your aid and the package that you received, loans or grants or scholarships, internal scholarships, external scholarships. So none of us hosting this webinar are experts on that. So we would always just refer you to One Stop because they have access to your financial records and can see what aid you have and how that may or may not be impacted. These were all really great questions. Are there any other questions?
I will chime in too, and just while you were answering that question, I did go into Handshake, and day 2 is open. We do have students that are signing up, still lots of availability, but we've got a lot of sessions. I know that students are full and students are registered, so it might be, you know, something specific to those of you that are having that issue. So please send me a note if you're not able to sign up, and we'll try to troubleshoot.
And I wanted to raise a point too. I mean, given that we are changing this to a new system and we have plans, you know, in terms of the course material and so on, but we are also open to suggestions. So if you talk to your friends who have done co-op, or, you know, if you have friends from different colleges, or if you yourself have an idea of the kinds of topics to be considered, you know, share it with us. We are going to be pretty flexible, and it's going to be, especially at the beginning, it's going to be very fluid. And basically think about the end goal. The end goal is to prep you for your jobs after graduation. So anything that you see during the internship, if any situations arise, or if there are interesting experiences, share it with us. Say, you know, maybe it's a good idea to cover that, and we'll bring it in and, you know, and cover it in the course. So I want it to be a very cooperative, you know, program, working with you and getting feedback from you. Thank you.
That's great. Are questions coming in? Looks like my Q&A is frozen for some reason. So, no, Miranda, can you see any more coming in?
No more coming in. So if you think of others, always feel free to send an email to the co-op email address. Happy to help answer those. Thank you for joining us today, and we'd love to see you participate in the co-op program.
Thank you all. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a great evening.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.